What's up, guy? What is up, guy? Welcome back to Josue Has to Say. If you're new here, I am Josue, and this is what I have to say. Before we begin the episode, please remember to like, subscribe, share, do all the things, as it does help the podcast grow and make some money. Today's episode, I got a lovely lady here with me, Miss Cat. Cat, like Prince and Madonna. There is no more, it's just Cat.
Just Cat.
Local voice, podcaster, entrepreneur. Welcome on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. Really appreciate it. I'm ready to get into it.
You're ready to get into it?
Ready.
So, Kat, actually, we crossed paths through Instagram. I had seen you before doing your podcast thing with a caballo, but then I saw you again when we both collaborated with Mike, the ATV guy.
That was epic, man.
Right?
Thank you for the recommendation, because he was like, "Oh, Josue was like, he really wanted you to do this as well," and I was like, I don't really know Josue.
No, that never happened. Mike, that never happened.
I know. I guess he probably was like, "Oh, let me just see if I can get her out here."
Yeah.
It was awesome. He's a great guy. The collaboration was super fun, and the experience was super dope.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, and I was picking fucking dirt out of my eyelids for like 3 weeks after that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't wear any of the gear. Like, I mean, I had one of those little masks, but it didn't really, work out in my favor.
It's very serious out there.
It was intense. Yeah, it was intense. But it was a great time, and I actually want to go back.
I do too, man. Like squatted though with like 30
Let's
people.
go. Let's make a trip out of it, guy.
Why not? Why not? It's something different. No partying, no drinking, Miami lifestyle. Just.
I mean, we had some beers. And...
Bueno. Just a little bit.
Kat. So Kat and I DM'd and we were like, you know what, guy? Let's shoot the shit with a little pod. Talk about some Miami stuff. Talk about some life stuff. Talk about some medicine stuff, which we'll get to in a bit. But before we started the podcast, Kat and I were talking about the newest development, which I just made an Instagram video about, which is the Clevelander. Since the 1930s, is going to shut its doors. Since the 1930s, guy.
That's iconic. I mean, anytime you think about Miami, like old Miami, 50s, 60s, 70s, you think of Cleveland or Fontainebleau, things like that. But now it has become a big ghetto and has a negative association to it.
It is definitely ghetto as fuck. They've been trying to push them out of there for a minute. Mm-hmm. It's not happening. The city has been kind of pushing on them to change their ways or just to clean up their act. So their excuse is for this transformation that they're doing. I haven't said what it is yet. They're basically tearing down portions of the building, leaving, I guess, some of the Art Deco stuff up, but making a condominium. So a 30-story condo, which 40%, quote unquote, will be for affordable housing, whatever the fuck that means, based on a $75,000 income median for the area. I don't know if that's gonna fly. Do
you buy it? I mean, do you buy that story? Like that's the reason why?
Well, that's not the reason why.
Right.
They're just using that to butter people up, 110%. But I think they have to because of that Bill DeSantis passed, the Live Local Act, which I guess is catered to Miamians or Floridians not having to leave because of the.
Has that kicked in anywhere
in July,
else, by the way?
In July. It's fresh. It just happened in July. So I guess it's still...
The rents are still kind of
No, la cosa está mala.
For real.
La cosa está malita. I don't know. I'm not really for that change. I think that if you open that floodgate, the rest of the strip is probably going to be stripped out.
Completely.
Because it's money. It's money they can make, and we know how the developers and the commissioners here roll there,
We know how they roll. But you're right. It does. I think it does open the floodgates. That area is preserved. It's historic. When you think of South Beach in Miami, it's very iconic.
Yep.
They can get around it, like we were talking about, by keeping like the structure and then changing the facade out. But again, that opens the floodgates, because right now every single parcel of land in the Brickell area and Miami Beach has been claimed and accounted for. Any open lot that you see, people are land banking, right? So they're just sitting on it. They're sitting on it. So developers are still hungry, and there's a lot of money still flooding out here. I saw the other day on Miami New Times, they're opening up 55 new restaurants all over the city of Miami, and the closing rate was only about 4 or 5, which is completely lopsided. Remember how it was before, right? You'd hear about all these closings. So maybe that's the move right now. Developers are looking for established kind of buildings and, making their way into saying why they want to knock it down and then kind of rebuilding for the people.
It's always for the people.
It's always for the people.
Wink. And as I was telling you, Sunny Owls, look at all the Sunny Owls years ago. Those were little tiny motels on Collins.
I remember.
And now it's these big ass fucking high rises that only, you know, Russian mobsters living in
It's
shit.
out of control. It's like $50 million for an apartment.
And you go to the beach and it's all shade. You can't even fucking lay down and get a suntan because the...
It's ridiculous. It's not my favorite beach anyway. It's the worst part.
Nobody goes to Sunny Isles.
Nobody goes to Sunny Isles.
Unless you're trying to do some dirty money laundering deals with
That's also probably true.
with Putin.
That's true.
Kat, so let's jump into you. Tell us who you are. What do you do? What's up with you? What's this Miami girl Kat about?
Man, so I'm, kind of at heart like an entrepreneur. I've been in the game here in Miami like for 10 years. My background was mostly in sales, and I worked for some really incredible companies. And, I was recently working with Grant Cordone, and it was...
Nice. How was that experience?
It was the most incredible experience of my life.
Wow.
Like, to be able to be surrounded by people who are on the same mental capacity as you, like you have a goal in mind, your communication is clear, and everybody's pushing in the same direction. It is a powerful,
goal-oriented go-getters.
Yeah. It's not like people describe it like, oh, it's, like cultish and this and that. It's a very high-producing,
Did you come here to get me into a cult?
No, not at all. But it was, the reason why I mention it is because, that really prepared me to kind of springboard into my own business. So teaching you how to scale, sales, everything. I was like, okay, I trust you, the information that you've been giving me. So I ended up opening a few different companies. Mm-hmm. And now my primary business is my marketing company. So I work with Brian Breach, Make Me Viral Media.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, partnering with him. That's been fun. He's a cool character. And I also, my main business right now is the vape vending machines. So we're all over Miami, and we're replacing a lot of shitty business. Funny story with that. People were coming with duffel bags to people in restaurants and like, here you go. Here's a duffel bag full of money. Let me put my machine here. And they never come back.
No.
Super bad. So I was like, I see an opportunity. So I went in and kind of have my machines there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, and then also I do a lot of content creation. So I work with brands. Okay. And depending on what they're trying to achieve, I'll work with them to really bring a brand voice, get their message out there, and really help them sell their product through content. So it's a lot. I mean, it keeps me busy.
You're busy. You sound like you're not twiddling your thumbs at all.
No. Somebody's doing it in Miami. I'd rather do it too.
Yeah, absolutely right. So 2 things caught my attention there. Number 1, working with Grant Cardone. And number 2, I want to hear more about the vapes and the Miami scammy situation. So,
man. Well, starting off with kind of working at Grant's, I landed there after COVID by accident because I used to work on the cruise ships.
Everyone's COVID time is by accident. Like things just magically happen for people.
It happened. I mean, I didn't really get to experience COVID because 2 months into it, I got hired at Grant's, and it was a well-oiled machine. We didn't stop. We didn't stop having our events. It was just produce. So it kept us level-headed, kind of protected from that COVID bubble. But no, I landed there by accident, like on a whim. I'm like, no, there's no way anybody's hiring right now. Went into interview and ended up doing social media sales for him. So basically like hosting anytime Grant would be
Miami
present.
based.
Right here in Aventura.
Okay. Anytime
he was online or doing events, I was the person kind of introducing him, kind of managing everybody. So it was an experience I had never had before, but they're like, oh, you'll figure it out. And
you seem like the type that can figure it out.
Yeah,
like you seem like headstrong and not meek type of thing. Like you're just kind of.
I think Miami prepares you for that, right? Like if
you'd be surprised
if you're not,
a lot of people like mostly fake it. I think to you it seems like everybody fakes it to a degree, but to you it seems like it kind of comes innately.
I mean, it wasn't innate. It's truly, I think Miami polishes and shapes you as a human being.
I like that response too,
bro. Because if you're not getting it, you're getting got, I feel, in Miami. In every way, shape, and form.
My dad would always say, "El vivo vive de bobo."
It's true.
And it's true.
It's true. So I think, through the lessons I've learned, like the mistakes, it sharpens you of how to deal with different situations and people and communicate better and understand people a little bit more, and it helps you maneuver.
Yep.
At least it did for me. But Grant's, man, it was pretty epic.
How's he as an individual?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Amazing. I'll never
Seems like a little bit like a dick, though.
He is a master marketer. He is a master of catching attention.
So like Grutman, a dick, yeah.
I mean,
master marketer. Dick.
Honestly, I can't speak on David Grutman. I haven't had any experiences with him personally, and I don't I never share judgment about somebody that I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's
I mean, at the
crazy.
end of the day, they're brilliant people. Like you can talk all the shit you want, but are they brilliant? Absolutely.
I mean, the success, it's evident. It's not just what you see, it's the achievements and everything.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
He was a really nice person. I've met a lot of celebrities in Miami. I used to work in a lot of the hotels on the beach back in the day. But I remember when I met him, he actually stopped what he was doing and like turned, and he was right in the middle of having a conversation. The COO said, "Hey, do you want to meet Grant?" I was like, "Man, I'm a fan. Absolutely." He stopped what he was doing and like shook my hand, looked me in the eye and was like, "Hey, it's great to have you here working. Really appreciate you. What do you do here?" And took a moment to like connect as a human. And when you're so used to people on phones and not paying attention and really just, you know, like distracting themselves, it was refreshing to see a successful human being be in a moment. You know, so it was a
Now,
great
do you
experience.
think that's innate in him, or is it,
A show?
not a show, but he knows it's good business?
I think
Or is it both? It could be both.
I think it's both, because once you reach that level of success, my personal belief is you become a good person. You become a clear, level-headed person that you can communicate with anyone.
Okay.
And you start understanding human relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And is it good for business to be, make sure that your employees feel seen? Absolutely. But is it also good to be a good human and like say hey to somebody and really look them in the eyes?
Yeah.
So I think it bleeds into kind of each other.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was whirlwind, man. Whirlwind.
Oh, sounds like a great experience, yeah.
It was.
And you have those connections now. You know?
I do. I learned so much about selling. He really, changed the game when it came to sales. Because, I don't know if you're kind of familiar with selling and that kind of experience, but the connotation.
Wouldn't be able to sell water in the desert.
No, I mean, the connotation with sales is usually, it's scammy. It's they're trying to get me.
Yeah. Car salesman
it's
type
like a
of.
car salesman type of thing. But when you switch that perspective, like, you're a skilled person, you have something that somebody needs, and how can you help them to achieve what they want? It's an exchange of services that's clearly communicated. Everything is out in the open. So it's not a bad transaction. It's how you kind of perceive it and how you communicate. So just being a real human being and talking to somebody, it changed the game. I mean,
well, that's rare these days, so,
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Speaking of being a real human being, tell me about the non-real human beings and the vapes.
Oh, man. Those are, I mean, everybody's vaping nowadays, so going into that business, it just hit me like 8 months ago. I saw it one place a long time ago in Nashville, I think. And I'm like, damn, that's a great idea. And it popped again about 8 months ago. And I started to get into it, started researching it. Then I started working with like factories and designing the product. Because what I notice why businesses fail is because they think they know what they're doing and they don't scale it from the beginning. And like they don't think about the future when they start. So
It's true.
We came
Scalability is the hardest part of a business, from what I've seen.
It's huge because you have to pre-plan about what's going to happen when you don't really know what's going to happen. So we just got into the game, and then we started approaching different places. Initially it was like suit and tie and, like suits and everything and really polished, and going to these places with my business partner. And people were already like, oh, we've been approached before. How much are you going to bring us? And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah. We have a group, and I figured it out. Hope.
¿Dónde está la bolsita? La bolsita de dinero, ¿dónde está?
Bro, it was like that. Because I know in Miami it's pay to play for a lot of different things. And, I just didn't expect it so hard at the gate. They were just like, we had these group of guys come, which I know who they are now. It's like these 3 shady dudes that are rolling up with bags full of cash and getting the business and then disappearing, right? So I believe their money's being cleaned through some of these places. I'm more than believe.
I mean, that's
I'm more than
likely the scenario.
For sure. I mean, how many places are getting their money cleaned through like laundromats or whatever places that are still open that shouldn't be now?
That is fucking wild.
Right? Crazy.
So what, they just leave the machine there, and when they have to be restocked, what happens?
No, we hear the same thing. It's broken. Nobody's answering the phone.
Oh.
They just left the cash and they just deposited in our bank every month. It's just a shady situation. But, we're starting to replace those machines. But The streets are crazy out here. Every industry you can think of,
I love how Miami, no matter how much it changes, because Lord knows it's changed so much in the last 3 years, it still sticks true to its bones.
Why do you think that is? Why?
It's in its bones. It's in the DNA of the city. I feel like some things you really can't change no matter what, you know? Like it just stays ingrained in the culture and the people, and it's in the air.
It's in the for sure. I've thought a lot about this, especially like traveling. And you go to different places. I don't know if you've traveled often, like out of the city.
Yeah.
Country.
Not a crazy amount of times, but a good amount, yeah.
Okay. Where have you gone, for example?
DR, Europe.
Europe. Okay. Europe is a whole different beast. Calm people, culture, amazing food. Like, it's a totally different place.
It's the opposite of America.
Completely.
Yeah.
But Miami, I feel like when you see it, the basis of why people came here, they've escaped their country. So, like, I feel like there's a backbone of that sitting there, like, we had to fight to get here.
Oh, right.
You know?
Yeah. The immigrant kind of.
Yeah, I think that's flown, but, like, extends beyond, like, you know, kids and, like, grandkids and, like, us now. You know, there's always that something that you got to fight for.
Yeah, but that's kind of dying out, because think about that only holds true for maybe the immediate generation that crosses over, the actual immigrants, and then maybe the first, right? But then second, por ahí para allá, that kind of, the need to, that hustle, that mentality starts to die out, right?
You think so? What about like abuelita or like mom is like, oye, tiene que terminar la comida, oye. Like, she'll say something like that, and even though it's like a small statement, like that is attached to, we don't have enough, we need more.
Yeah, that is true.
And that kind of trickles into things. So I don't think it's like a hard-hitting, like, oh, we fought to get here. But I think little things they're still here. You know, there's still that sense of, like, my opinion, right? Like, everything here you have to fight for at this point. For space, for time, for money, for everything. And people are just kind of aggressive. I mean, also you're fighting the humidity every day. As soon as you walk out of the door, like, you're fighting something.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I don't think it'll change either. But maybe with all the new people coming in,
it's definitely gonna add or remove something. Something's gonna change. Like you can't add all those variables and things stay status quo. That's impossible.
Hope so, man. It's crazy.
I mean, change is neither good nor bad. It just is. Yeah. So,
what do you think of all these people coming out here, by the way?
I hate them, all of them. I want all of them to go back.
Why?
Because it's too much too soon, and the city already had its own problems, and they're just adding to the problems. That's a major reason why I've been so hard on Francis Suarez since the get. Yeah, he's only the mayor for the city of Miami, but the city of Miami is very influential. And all the transfers that he helped facilitate to come here to line his pockets have not stayed in the city of Miami alone. It's all bled out throughout the entire county. So the whole county is suffering. I mean, it was going to happen due to COVID, whatever, but he definitely had a big stake in putting up the billboards and how may I help. Y toda esa repinguería the guy did.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
So now we're all, suffering because of it. It's too much too soon. For example, traffic, which is the least of the problems. Not the least, but like the least impacting. Like housing is a bigger issue than traffic, right?
I don't know, man.
Traffic is terrible, but having a roof over your head is more important. You know what I mean? Right. So take traffic, for example, and housing too. There are already problems to begin with. You push in all these people without even attempting to fix those problems. What are you going to do? Just make it worse? You're just adding more, fuel to the flame to the fuel, whatever the fuck.
Is it different from Miami, though? It's like we've been dealing with a lot of this time and time again.
But we're resilient. We adapt. A la buena, a la mala. You know, whether you scam or you do it legit, like you survive.
You do survive.
And that's the backbone of Miami people.
I think so too. But I think you're right. He did definitely contribute. I was reading something the other day. How can somebody go from bankruptcy to $3.2 million?
You become a politician.
Right? You become a politician. I'm learning that's the rocket ship to
this is going to sound insane. And people, I already get bullshit all the time for the crazy shit I say. But you know how you eliminate that?
How?
Bring back public beheadings. 110%. You don't want to be publicly beheaded? Don't apply for a public servant job and don't be a scam artist. If you want to scam, don't be a public servant. Go scam, be a drug dealer, you won't be beheaded. You'll probably just go to jail, whatever the fuck. But if you apply for a public servant job and you get caught on some shady shit, fucking public beheadings, ahí in Bayfront Park. Everybody, chop. I bet you the only people that would apply are people that actually are doing it for the right reasons, or if not, they won't.
I think that statement has some weight to it. I mean, on a serious note, I mean, you look at countries like Iran and Iraq and, you know, those Middle Eastern countries, like if you steal, they chop off your hands.
There you go.
Right? Like crime rate is really low. You can, like the rate of murder and rape in Dubai is
They chop off something else, huh?
They will chop off something else. So is the repercussion, like the result of it, gonna change the behavior? I don't know.
It would minimize it, I think, because
yeah.
think about it. Like, because it's really fucked up. It's not, you're not just if you're selling a shitty product, you're fucking over what, 10, 20, 50 people. These are your constituents. They're funding you, they're paying your salary, and then you're going behind their backs to fuck them. No, bro, like, that's, bro, like, my blood me sube la presión. Like, are you fucking, scam, whatever. You shouldn't scam anybody, but whatever. We're all Hispanic, we get it.
Yeah.
But damn, that's a lot of people, man. Like, those are your people. Like I said, singao.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this has been happening for so long. You know, it's not a new thing that, you know, people in power positions are getting their pockets lined to get things done for people who also have, you know, the capacity and the capability to control an area. So is it going to change? I don't know, man. I mean, I hope so, but you know, what I'm thinking, my belief is this. I was actually thinking about this the other day.
And 1 second, I'm sorry. Yeah. This does not mean I want Francois to be publicly beheaded before I have Homeland Security come to my house, because I've heard this has happened already before. This is not what I'm.
Wow, definitely not. We're not suggesting that, but I was actually thinking about it the other day when Mitch McConnell froze again. Yeah. So. Like, I try to avoid the news, and I see, like, snippets on Reddit just to maintain sanity, and he froze again. And I'm like, things have remained the same for this time period where you have kind of older, decrepit, you know, white bread people that are kind of trying to be the voice of people that look nothing like them, speak nothing like them.
Your representative does not represent you in any way. Yeah.
So my hope and belief is that when those people kind of phase out, the new kind of generation of people with a little bit more of a flexible thought process and maybe a little bit more kind of honesty and ethics coming in, right? I mean, because we've suffered through it all the last 20, 30 years of seeing.
Millennials, we've seen everything,
Hopefully you find a person that emerges with, you know, ethics and morality before they get them.
Vamos a ver. That's a statement here. Vamos a ver. I just called out being a millennial, and we've seen so much. And as millennials, I feel like there's a lot of weight on our shoulders, where we should be in life, the things that we should be doing. Some millennials are still in their 20s, plenty of them. Late 20s, 30s, and I think some millennials might be in their 40s.
I think so. I think the bracket is like 39 by that. 40. I think it's 40.
40, right?
40, I believe so.
Like 26 to 40, something like that. And we were talking about this in our DMs prior to this. Expectations on where you should be, right? If you're a woman, you know, you got the birth thing going on. Are you drying up like a shriveled rat, or, you know, type of thing? If you're a man, if you're not married by 40, was something wrong with you? Or like things, you know, there's a lot of expectations. What are your thoughts on high level, and then we can kind of like just, you know, dive a little deeper into each and granularly. Yes, sorry, Miami-Dade education. What are your thoughts on that?
I think with the emergence of, you know, the rise of social media and TikTok, like there are all these people that are kind of experts and, you know, trying to say what we should be doing, what we should not be doing. Because I feel like for so long, you know, you had certain examples. Like back in the 90s, for example, you know, if you didn't grow up in the kind of perfect household, mom and dad, abuela, abuelo, like family, brothers and sisters, and it's kind of fragmented, you have the 90s family sitcoms, right, to look at, to kind of reference, right?
Full House.
Right, Full House and stuff like that. Because you see by example, except, you know, the people around you, if it's not the best example, you seek it out. So I feel like that kind of merged into media taking a big, you know, front driving seat into what we should be and what we shouldn't be. And like those examples got skewed from like our parents and family and what we should be doing into what other people think we should be doing, like that are famous, you know? So I feel like that had a heavy influence on it. And I feel like for the
Give an
longest
example
time,
on that.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian, of course.
Okay.
Like, you know, that whole family kind of perspective. A lot of, you know, just as much as I do, the marriage rates and divorce rates in the 90s were catastrophic, right? Single mothers,
Yeah.
you know, dads that weren't present. It is what it is. So when that came about, it became like a standard of family for a lot of women, right? And these women carry their opinions into, you know, relationships with males and deciding to have kids and whatnot. That has a big part of it. So I feel like that became a standard, and everything elevated. Beauty standards, what you should be doing, and marriage and children. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a really big correlation between all of them having 3 kids. The birth rates used to be 2 children, right? That was an American standard.
Wait, so it increased?
Yes.
Due to the Kardashians?
There's a direct correlation to
Shut
like
the fuck
both
up.
of these people, I swear. It goes deeper than that. It's not just beauty and fashion and everything. It goes down to how many children. The name Mason, right, skyrocketed because this woman named her child
Jaden,
Mason.
all those, yeah.
So to sit here and for a massive amount of women that are 20s to 40s kind of grew up into that. So I think it skews what we should or should not be doing. Was there a bigger example than them during that time frame? Not in my experience. I mean, you probably obviously as a man had your own, and I can't speak on that example, but from a woman's perspective, what does it show? You have to have kids by your 30s. You know, you should have 3 by 35. You know, you should be able to, and the whole thing as well of like IVF and like freezing your eggs, direct correlation between that. So it makes you think like there's money being pumped into what you should be doing, what you should not be doing, and who you should be following, right? Because there's money behind it. It's $30,000 to freeze your eggs as a woman. And that message kept coming out that like, oh, you're getting older, you should do it. It's the right thing to do. And like, if you think about it, you know.
The IVF people are lined their fucking pockets with the Kardashians. I never thought of it that way, but that's a really good.
Well, I've tried to evaluate it because, you know, a lot of women in the past 10 years carbon copy, you know, like outfits, you know.
Everyone looks like Kim Kardashian these days.
So
even if you don't look like Kim Kardashian.
even if you don't, right? Yeah. So that kind of standard of beauty standards where you should be in your life has bled into what it is today. Now, that's a precursor to what we should and should not be doing. So married, you know, you're supposed to be, you have to have a big grandiose kind of thing. You know, you have to have businesses. And if you don't, you're not successful, right? And that's led to a lot of confusion for a lot of people. Like, how do you get there? And what if you can't find somebody by 30? What if you can't afford IVF? What
Are
if
you a failure? Yeah.
You're a failure, you know? So right now, I don't feel that there's the best example of what a woman in her 30s to 40s or, you know, even late 20s should be doing, right? Like, everybody's figuring this shit out. Like, there's no manual. Like, there's no real determination of what you should be doing, what you should not be doing. We're kind of figuring it out. But how is it for you, like, as a man? Because I can't even imagine what you guys are supposed to be.
I mean, definitely, I think across the board, for men and women, it's one size does not fit all, right? And coming from, I can only speak from my experience, coming from Hispanic homes, you have Hispanic values, you know, you move out of the house and you get married. Because otherwise, you're supposed to. Yeah. You have your niños, whatever. You get married before all that, obviously. Very traditional, very, you know, conservative kind of like outlook on stuff. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. You know, you either have a little dick or you have an arrow disease or you're gay or like something, you know, like something's off. Yeah. So, but it's, again, like one size does not fit all. I have a bunch of homeboys, which if you guys, I don't think they listen to my podcast.
It's messed up, bro.
You know, they did it the way they're doing it, and they're not really. They're happy. They love their kids. No, they love their kids, but you could see the misery in their fucking faces, motherfucker. I glow. They don't. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, I see them tired. I see them gray. Like, not gray like in the hair, but like the face desencajada. Like, it's like you're tired. You're trying to make ends meet. I'm happy as a fucking golden retriever. Sorry to break it to you, and not that I don't want that. But when it comes, you know, organically type of thing, right. Not because I'm 24 and I feel like pressure from my parents and I'm supposed to, and what's the next step, and I don't want to be lonely. So I guess, you know, she'll do type of thing.
It's such a shitty way to look at it. But a lot of people
A lot
do.
of people
You're
do.
right.
And a
You're
lot of people
right.
don't even realize that they're looking at it this way.
Right.
They're just kind of programmed like a fucking computer, and they just kind of like, this is the next step. And
Right.
like, you don't break away and think, well, what do I actually want? I have friends that have never even been alone long enough to know themselves as a person. I have friends from elementary school, and they've always had a noviecita, like obviously like third grade type of crush type of thing. But I can't remember them not having anybody like that until now that I'm in my 30s, and now they're married. But they always had a boyfriend or girlfriend.
And are they happy? That's the question.
Some of them I'd say actually are. Others I'd say maybe it's a front. I don't know. But
I mean, I think you're right, because same as well. You know, I have a lot of friends that, you know, they hit their 30s and they wanted to get married. They waited a little bit later on, and they had their kids and they're miserable. You know, some of them, like you were saying, are super happy. They found their value and their purpose in being a mother and creating a family and a home, which is beautiful. But the other half, you know, they're leaving on a Thursday to go, you know, have like a drinking day in like Brickell. And I'm like, dude, you're like escaping. Like, what are you're okay, you know?
Yeah, when
So-
they go out, they go out.
Bro, I'm like, drink what? Like, I'll be out with them, and I'm like, coño, bro. Like, I'll look at them instead of like joining in. Like, oh, I'll have a couple drinks, but I'm like, hey, we gotta talk after, because like your behavior, I'm concerned. Like, I am concerned.
Is everything okay at home?
Is everything okay? But you can tell, you know, when people tend to do that, it's like bleeding into or from another place, you know. So people aren't happy. I did what I'm supposed to do. I had my kids. I got married. Where's the magic pill?
And
that's
at
gonna
that
solve
point,
everything?
you're. I don't want to say you're trapped, because I don't think you're ever trapped in life. I think there's always an out. Life is always one decision away of you grabbing it by the balls and taking.
Definitely.
You know, but it is a lot harder when you've built, you know, the picture frame, the house, the mortgage, the kids, the golden retriever, the whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? And then, what do you mean I gotta break all this because I'm unhappy? No, I'm gonna stick to it and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And
A lot of people.
hopefully it does work, man, because you don't want a bunch of unhappy people out there raising other people and shit like that. Like, you want them to be happy because you want a good society and shit, but it's like, I hope that you fix that shit that you got up there, man.
I mean, you would hope, you know, but now as a person, like in my 30s now, I'm challenging the patterns, challenging the thought processes, and like looking at different kinds of examples and questioning, like, what is it that I really want? Because I've had this conversation with my friends, and it's like, do I even want kids? You know, do I find my purpose in life by having kids? And I was like, no, I don't. But that's okay, because, you know, eventually it's there. I think things are like forced down your throat. Have kids, and oh yeah, we need grandkids, and you know, and it's like, but that's your timeline. I think everybody arrives to it at a different time. So I think now, kind of like a purpose of what I'm supposed to do now. I think 20s, you fuck around, you find out, you have a blast, you make mistakes, you fall, you get up, you embarrass yourself, you learn, you feel stupid. And then I think in your 30s is a moment to triumph and not only know yourself, but learn yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and grow. So that's where I'm at right now. Like, I want to understand everything about myself as a human being before I decide to commit to somebody for the rest of my life.
100%.
And to create another human, like,
100%.
you know?
I personally feel like I'm a decade behind with everything. So what I mean by that is, when I turned 30 is how I felt. When I turned 30, I felt like how I was supposed to feel, quote unquote, when I turned 20. So
What do you mean?
like the way that I have shit figured out when I turned 30 is how I thought when I was younger I was gonna have shit figured out when I was 20.
Okay.
You know, so I feel like I'm a decade behind. So when I'm 40, I'm probably gonna mentally feel like I'm 30, type of thing. Like I got, you know what I mean? And like
It's a great thing as
I'm
well.
one. Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all, but I think that's the way that I kind of like perceive it. Like right now, I feel like I'm in my mid 20s. You know, and I don't mean in the Miami way. I just mean like in a human being type of like structured kind of way. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
I get you. I mean, it's...
I don't mean that I'm gonna be out partying and doing dumb shit like that,
Yeah.
like I did.
I mean, just
my
having
20s
that-
were like my teenage years.
Right.
That's what I'm trying. Like one
get
decade
you.
behind type of thing.
I got you. I mean, where are you at right now? Like, what do you feel like you're supposed to be doing as a man, you know, your 30s here in Miami?
Depends on who you ask. I'm 33 next month. I'm 32 right now. Next month I turn 33. So I should be having kids, right? Or I should be, you know, or at least in a relationship that is leading towards building a family type of thing. And I definitely want those things, but when they come, I honestly think I probably would have fucked up a kid if I had him a year ago or
Same,
3 years ago. Like, a veces lo que sucede con viene, like, and people rush you for things, and it's like, I wasn't meant to have a kid at that age. You know what I mean? Like, I still had shit to figure out myself. Like, and I learned this from my parents, my mom specifically, always trying to be the perfect parent, perfect this and that. You end up fucking up your kid because the kid needs a happy parent, not a perfect one.
That's true.
You know? So that's something that why would I not want to be my best self for like a child or whatever?
That's what I think.
Yeah. And a lot of these, a lot of it's not politicized, right? Like everything is politicized these days. You know, you're either far right or far left. So if you're on the left side, it's kind of like, fuck kids. You don't need kids, you know? You wake up throwing up, think you're having a kid, and shove a coat hanger up your vagina or whatever. Yeah, or the opposite. It's like, have 12 kids. We need to populate the earth type of thing. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. You know, that's just kind of the way that things are shaping themselves out to be. And I think, at least with the conservative side, there's people on the conservative side that don't want kids. And then they're looked at, well, you're not real conservative. You know, you don't have a traditional family, like you're not trad, you're not conserving anything. Why would you force people to that don't want kids to think that they do? Like, I follow like the red pill bro space often and all that shit. And these guys are all about like, which I agree. Like, I think a lot of people, like, it's the innate human desire and it makes you happy to reproduce, procreate, all these things. But I generally also believe it's not for everybody. Like, they're very hard on women on having children. If a woman doesn't want to have a kid, why would you try to convince her otherwise? What if she does? Because she doesn't. She's a horrible mom.
Right. Exactly.
And she fucks up the kid. Exactly. Like, some people are not 100% of everybody.
I both know. There's a lot of people, especially here in our own city, that should never have had kids. Not even have gotten together.
No. Or near a school.
Or like 5 feet within the space of each other. But, you know, if you really think about it, though, like, why are we supposed to do it? Why are we supposed to, in our 30s, have already been in a relationship by now? Why? What's the purpose?
To figure shit out. I don't know, to not be too late in the game. I guess reproduction-wise.
But
like,
why? Like, where did this come from?
Who decided?
Right, like, who decided? Where did it come from? Like, obviously, sow your seeds, reproduce. That's the journey of man, right? But now we've evolved so much so, like, safety is not an issue anymore to where you have to group up and, you know, create your own group of people. If you're not ready for it, you're not like ready as a human being to lead people, like, why do it, right? Yep. You're putting other people's safety at risk. So why? Is it not to be lonely, or like, what's the reason you can possibly think of? Why group up with somebody? Because obviously love, but I mean, that whole thing is like, yeah, you love somebody. Do you have to get married?
I don't understand the partnership thing. I'm just going to, off the bat. The children thing, I completely understand. I can see a person past a certain age being, I've done all I want to do. I would like to see the world through a different set of eyes.
Sure.
You know, a tiny set of eyes, and teaching and, you know, like growing someone like a plant type of thing. And then when you get to old age, be surrounded by people you care about. Like that, the whole child thing, it makes complete sense to me. The partnering up with somebody, I don't understand. Because if it happens, again, it's things that happen organically. Like, oh my God, I fell in love with you, fell in love with me. We're doing this.
Right.
And you just fucking, you do whatever the fuck you want to do. But that whole, like, I'm just going to go on Tinder because I need somebody. And, like, it's sad. And it's like, I don't understand why you're forcing or just actively looking so desperately to be in a partnership with somebody. Right. That to me has always been weird. Like, I don't understand that. I mean, and it's not that I don't understand relationships. If I like someone, then it happened organically. I was going to this coffee shop and I saw this girl and blah, 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 and it happened. But I wasn't like, oh my God.
I gotta find somebody. I gotta,
like, well, what's wrong with you?
I feel like that's a sentiment now. Like, I have a really good friend of mine, and bro, I feel like every time we go out, she's like strapping up for like a hunt, you know? And like,
yeah, it is.
Like, calm down. Like, what are you rushing for? And she's, my eggs are drying up. And I'm like, who told you that? Have you got an evaluation? Has a doctor really said that? Because you know that there's no like scientific proof that women essentially cannot reproduce beyond a specific age.
Oh no, it's the risk. It's the risk of what they say that.
A risk. It's an inherent risk, right? It's just strange to me because women back in the day were having kids at like 50, 40, 60, 100%. Yeah. It's possible. So why scare women into thinking that, right? It makes you think there's like a different message being pushed behind it, right? Create the families, create consumers, and all that stuff. But that whole thing as well is, why get married? It's an institution. You have to present your documents to somebody to say, yeah, what you have is official. That's strange to me.
Yeah.
You know, why have that recognized by somebody else? Nobody lives in your house. Nobody knows what you guys go through. Nobody provides you with like information or ways to deal with things with each other. Why does it have to be recognized by another body?
Those very strange practices these
Right?
humans have.
Like, what? What?
Thank God we're not part of this species.
Right? God.
Nah, I think just people like go with whatever they're told, you know, and whether it makes sense or not. Some of them like, you know, do the best they can. Some of them go crazy. Like, it's just
I'm trying to avoid that.
going crazy.
Yeah, of course, because there's so many things that can get you there. But I think, you know, challenging the norms of what people are doing, because I observe people and I'm like, seen so many people that have kids and that are super unhappy in their relationship. You see people like women pushing strollers and they look like their energy has been sucked out of like their soul, you know? And that's what I'm saying, back to like examples.
And not all of them, to be fair, but there's a good amount.
I would say it's like from what I've seen,
Like a 50-50.
It's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Right? So who are the examples now of what should we be doing? Like, do you, with the Andrew Tate kind of situation, does that show an example as like men right now, how you guys should be thinking, behaving, perspective? Because he's a prominent figure right now for males.
Men right now, I think, are... I don't know how to begin this. Men right now, I think, are more fucked up than women. Because it's a mixture of the years-long feminism movement that emasculated men into toxic masculinity, and you guys need therapy, and the machista thing, you know, has been fucking you up, and the generations of fatherless sons, you know, with absent fathers, and all this myriad of shit. Then after that came that created the antithesis, right? The pendulum swings, the anti-feminist Andrew Tate type, and women too, because it's not just Andrew Tate. There's like anti-feminist women that are just as far on that side as he is. And a lot of these lost boys and men, which are boys really, just everything he says, dick sucked everything he fucking said, and a lot of it makes sense. A lot of it is the guy is on point. He's A, B, C, and D, but to an extent, he plays a character.
Absolutely.
And people don't know that he's a master marketer. He's brilliant at what he does. He pushes the envelope. He says outlandish shit because it sells. And a lot of these people are dumb as fuck and don't know how to tell the character Andrew Tate from maybe he actually does live by, you know, A, B, and C that he preaches, but not D, E, F.
Right.
You know, type of thing. And people are just they're lost. They don't there's no father figure to follow.
Exactly.
So now they're here just, you know, mimicking, they embody the persona of their 5 favorite alphas, influencers, and they have no identity.
I think you're right. And that kind of goes back to the point, like, who are the examples, right? Like,
You shouldn't have an example. You should have yourself.
True. But, you know, human behavior, like your cognitive behavior, your patterns kind of come in from seeing other situations happen. So your brain is going to learn based on this. This happened, you know, I walked to this and there's something on the floor, I tripped, right? So that develops a pattern. You can also develop your patterns by observing other people, right? So in life, as a person, you do have that, but I feel a lot of people have kind of numbed their intuition and don't know how to rely on their own thought process or intuition to where you're looking outside for those answers.
Sure. No, and I see what you're saying, and I completely agree. But I think where my thought process differentiates is people should be able to like look up to people, but take what fits them and leave the rest. A lot of people don't know how to do that. There's like, here's Andrew Tate. Instead of taking like this little bit, I'll just like take the whole fucking like, hey, I'm Andrew Tate now. Surprise. Yeah. Like, you know, and it sucks. It sucks. You should take what fits, leave the rest. And if you don't know, try it out. If you know, try. That's how it's like a food, right? You see all these superfoods. Like, I'm gonna try it. If I see value in it, my life improves, and I'll continue it. If I don't, then I drop it off. Like, that's trial and error.
You would think so, but I think the whole thing with him is, again, I think he does have great points. I think that a lot of men were lost. Again, from a woman's outside perspective, I can't speak on how you guys actually feel, but from the outside, it seems like, a lot of guys did not know how to really communicate, because I saw my interactions. A lot of guys didn't know how to communicate. Maybe they weren't as confident as they should be. And then also kind of leaders. So I didn't really see those behaviors for a really, really long time, leading me to believe that there was a shift in manliness or manhood or the type of man, right? Honor, ethics, standing up for what you believe in.
Right.
So I feel like he came about, and a lot of people saw that, like you were saying, and didn't know how to discern between the two. But there's also a thing of like herd mentality as well. Like people want to be a part of something. So if you're lost as a person,
they
you
just
can
attach themselves to anything.
Exactly. But he's definitely a character for sure. But like you were saying, I think there are good points, but there's certain, you have to be able to discern. And now there's a lot of people who just accept information and digest it without doing their own research, and that's risky, man.
I've talked about this so many fucking times, that in the age of information where we're at, it's the new kind of like survival of the fittest. We're back at Darwinism, but whereas Darwinism, it was kind of like if you don't adapt, you die because you don't survive, like physically, like through the elements or like hunted or whatever the fuck. We're in another repeat of that, but just of the mind, but of the mind. Only when it comes to the mind. Those that do not know how to discern, how to take certain information and leave the rest, are not gonna make it.
Damn, you're right.
They're not gonna fucking make it. If you just consume all the shit that's thrown at you, vas a estar quemado para la pinga, and then you're just not gonna make it. Like you really are not gonna make it. With the socials, all this shit, like only the fittest of the mind will survive the age of information. The rest are just gonna like got left behind.
Such an interesting concept, because you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm always right.
A man who's always right. No, but this is a really interesting perspective. Really, really interesting, because it's true, right? Like you would have those. We would talk about it, like having animals eat certain things and like not being able to tell the difference. So like
we're the animals, and now it's just information.
That is nuts, but you're right, because there's so many people. The biggest thing, again, going back to like growing as a person, like kind of learning. Not accepting information that's being given to you. Because I'm like, if information's being given to you and so many people are doing it, why is the result not good? Like, that's what I base it, like boil it down to.
That's great. I mean, great point.
If it's not good, or it doesn't feel right, or it's just like, okay, that doesn't make sense to me. But people, like, they feel so strongly about what they don't like, and they want the world to kind of adapt to them. So they'll find things to fit that profile of what they think, instead of expanding, be like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a different perspective. Maybe there's a different way. Maybe I can say something different. But it's crazy out here. It is really crazy now that you say it.
It's very crazy. But we have for craziness.
Yeah.
Mushrooms.
That's
our
you're
next
right.
topic. See how smooth that was?
That was a beautiful transition.
So mushrooms, psilocybin? Psilocybin. Miami did again. I have dabbled with the shrooms. I think most people would benefit from a little, I'm not saying everybody's not medical advice either. So
Not a doctor.
And I have actually heard, which maybe we can get into this later, that people that already have pre-existing like sort of psychoses, schizophrenia, whatever, psychoses and whatever, it can push you over the edge. Like if you're on let's say you have a predisposition for schizophrenia in your family, and you might be on the edge, but you don't really know, and you take a good amount, it's sends you flying over the edge type of thing.
That would be applicable to anything. So any drug or any substance or anything that increases your dopamine levels to abnormal amounts, right, that your body and your synapses are used to, it can induce you into psychosis, right? So schizophrenia is an overproduction of dopamine at the end of the day.
Is it? I have no idea.
Yes, it's an overproduction. The reason I know this, for no reason, because I started to get into, I took a course in college about psychology, and they were talking about experiments with, LSD and like psilocybin and everything in the 60s, because they were trying to create soldiers, right? Brainwashing the soldiers to do whatever they wanted. But those tests failed. They didn't do the right amounts, and it got completely banned. I think it's level 1 narcotic or something in the United States. But during that time frame, they were finding out that some of the soldiers that had, tendencies for schizophrenia diagnosed later on, the production of dopamine just went through the roof. And they were able from that to start using that in medical facilities to associate the research with schizophrenia. Right? And
wow,
yeah.
that is crazy.
Crazy.
No
But
pun intended.
that is crazy.
Well, for those that aren't really familiar with psilocybin. Sorry, I don't know why. Psilocybin. It's essentially the active chemical, right, within the mushroom.
Yes.
So I got a little excerpt here. Is the hallucinogenic substance obtained from certain types of mushrooms that are indigenous to tropical and subtropical regions of South America, Mexico, and the United States. So the interesting part about this is, and I have personal stories that kind of like double down on this, is that within the last couple of years, we've realized that certain dosing of psilocybin.
You can just say magic mushrooms.
Magic mushrooms has helped people with anxiety and depression. So one of the studies here is in a small double-blind study, Johns Hopkins research reports that a substantial majority of people suffering cancer-related anxiety or depression found considerable relief for up to 6 months from a single large dose of magic mushrooms and the active compound. And then another one was findings in a randomized placebo-controlled 6-week trial in 104 adults. A 25 milligram dose of magic mushrooms administered with psychological support was associated with a rapid and sustained antidepressant effect, measured as a change in depressant symptoms scored by yada, yada, yada. So it's really fucking interesting how, again, I've always been on the natural type of like tip. I think we've done a lot of harm with pharmaceuticals, specifically the psychoactive kind or the SSRIs or opioids and all that. So this little fucking plant that cow shits on, and now it has magic powers.
Right.
You take a little bit of it and you're cured for 6 months or a year, off of one dose. It's insane.
Well, there's a lot of technical aspects to it, right? So the reason why those studies are showing is anxiety. What is anxiety? Mm-hmm. A decreased level of dopamine and decreased level of serotonin. What's depression? An abnormal decreased level in dopamine.
So going back to your point, it boosts it up.
It boosts it up. So I don't know if you're familiar with how kind of the brain operates with neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters regulate your everything in your entire body. So just to kind of break it down to the simplest forms, your sleep, your happiness, your mood, your appetite, your everything is regulated to your neurotransmitters. They're like chemicals that are floating. You activate it, your brain releases it, and then your body begins to feel the effects, right? So you go out into the sun, right? You immediately feel really good, right? Your dopamine is naturally increasing from the induction of vitamin D to the synapses. They release.
Sun your balls.
That too, right? That too. Serotonin as well. You get a great night's sleep. Your neurotransmitters secrete the serotonin. Mm-hmm. You feel balanced, right? You don't sleep. You feel heightened. Right? So it's all affected. So these studies are inherent, right? Because SSRIs inhibit the reuptake of serotonin. So you're telling me I have a decrease in serotonin. You're going to prevent me from reuptaking serotonin. So I'm in an endless cycle of pharmaceuticals, right? So this mushrooms, like magic mushrooms, has the ability to naturally increase that. So it's pretty amazing now that people are recognizing it. Because remember before, everybody was like, oh, you're a hippie and weird and tripping out, man. But
tripping out, man.
Yeah, and like all these tech dudes started like microdosing and like making it cool and like acceptable.
Well, now microdosing is like
it's like a thing.
It's like popping Skittles type of shit.
I saw on Channel 7 News, this lady was like, Mom reports, taking psilocybin to be a more present mom. And I was like, oh, yeah, bro, we're already in the era. I swear. I was like, we're here.
We made it. We arrived.
It's just a different place because the perspectives are shifting. Because you remember, it used to be Zoloft. And, hey, I want to be a present mom. I'm on Zoloft, right? So you have a decreased level of dopamine. Some way you need to replace it. Yeah. So it's a really great way to be able to do that. And I'm glad now people are experimenting with it. Because like you were saying, it is for the crazy, right? It's a natural form of therapy if you do it properly, Like I
told you off camera, it was off camera. I dabble with the shrooms. And the first time that I took them, bro, that shit we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We were just kind of
It
like...
usually happens. You're probably teenager, 20s,
Pop,
right?
It was 2018.
Oh,
so
shit. Okay.
I was 20.
Okay.
I was 27. 27, yeah, not 28 yet. Man, oh man. I was tripping for like 9 hours.
Was it like a handful?
It was a little less than a handful, but it was a lot.
Okay.
It was at least like 5 pieces, 4 or 5 pieces.
Yeah, like the big ones?
One of them was really big. The other one was there was like 2 medium ones, 3 small ones. It was for the first time, that was a knockout.
It's a lot.
I was tripping for 9 hours.
I believe it.
I have control problems, so that's why I don't like really taking drugs that I can't really control, like what I'm feeling or whatever the fuck. Bro, I completely lost touch with reality. Like, I remember at some point somebody in the room mentioned Kim Kardashian, and I was like, oh, she exists. Oh my God. Like, I was disassociated from reality. Sure. Like, completely just like detached from like, I was seeing patterns.
Seeing patterns in the colors
and then I was thinking.
But you weren't hallucinating, were you?
I didn't see any figures that weren't there.
But what you were seeing was moving and morphing and everything.
Yes.
Okay.
So then I started seeing, which I've seen various times, and I came to a conclusion about it. So I started seeing like geometric patterns type of thing. Yep. And then I was like, this part was recent. I was seeing them and I was like, what if these geometric patterns are like the code for like real life? And the shrooms are just like removing that veil from my brain. And I'm actually seeing like the code, the realness, like the grid or whatever the fuck.
Do you know why that happens? Why? Honestly, you have it feels like you have another layer of vision, right? Yeah. And your eyes get watery sometimes. So I was super curious about why that happens. So when you actually take mushrooms, right, magic mushrooms, your eyesight becomes enhanced because you realize there's 9 different levels of light, right? Bees can see up to like 20 different levels. Dogs can see
we can only see like a portion of the things around us.
Mushrooms actually enhances your vision to allow.
So it does to an extent.
You're seeing something
like
that's
drop
there.
some veil, right?
Completely. Yeah. You're seeing something that's already there.
That's crazy.
Now you have the access to see it.
That's crazy,
right? Because
yeah.
I used to think the same. Oh, I'm tripping. This is crazy. But once you start realizing what's happening, you have an increased dopamine level, right? Your vision is enhanced by the effects of the psilocybin. So those in combination allow you to see a bit further, right?
That's
than you
awesome.
normally get to
That's so
see,
cool.
Right?
Anyway, back to that trip. It was, again, 9 hours of me trying to like control this. I didn't talk for 4 hours. One of my homeboys was like, Josue, draw, move, talk, anything. Just do something. And I was just there like,
I'm in my head.
Yeah, I was locked in there, man. And the more I would try, because mushrooms is kind of like, you got to go with it, man. Like it's teaching you, one of the first thing it teaches you is let go. Like you got control issues, not with us, you don't. Like let the fuck go, or like, it'll snap you. And then, bro, I had things coming up that I hadn't even thought about, like since I was like 4 years old, and like issues and all that shit. And like I was telling you earlier, the thing with mushrooms is that, it's great if you want to just chill, have a little like, light, I don't know, kind of like experience type of thing. But you take a little bit too much and you're having 10 years worth of therapy in 4 hours. So it'll definitely, that's what happened to me for those fucking 9 hours.
And you
I just
took it
went
again after that
like
experience?
almost a year later.
Wow, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, which is the point that I've dragged on. Once the mushrooms, after the 9 hours started like to dissipate, I started feeling this relief, un dolor de cabeza de madre, because obviously I was...
You're dehydrated, you're thinking...
No, and the brain power that I was trying to fight everything was, like a Hummer. And the next morning, I woke up, and it was literally like... Nothing. I can see clearly, like everything.
Right?
No,
and you feel nothing, no hangover.
No, nothing. But I was so happy for the next like 3 to 6 months. And actually during that time, I was going through like a lot of shit. It was my 28th year. Yeah. And bro, that shit definitely fixed something in there. For the next 3 to 6 months, I was walking on a cloud. Everything was amazing, and then my life improved because my mind improved.
Well, do you drink a lot of coffee?
No.
Or before?
Maybe this is not coffee. I know you looked at this.
Okay. So do you always get like in that age bracket, 27, 28, did you get enough sleep? Did you drink a lot?
I did drink a lot.
Did you smoke like cigarettes or anything?
Not really, just drank a lot.
Drank a lot, right? So we don't realize what alcohol actually does to our neurotransmitters. It actually inhibits, it's almost like an SSRI. So it inhibits the reuptake of serotonin, so it's a natural depressant, right? So those effects of drinking for so many years, your levels maintain here unless you do something to boost them up, right? Breathing, cold water plunge therapy, regulating your diet, introducing new things,
100%.
like natural ways. So in that moment, you increase your uptake. You went from this level to now, this is my threshold. So I need to produce this much serotonin to get to my homeostasis. You created a new level of homeostasis in your mind, right? Or you came back to it as close as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's why it has the effects of being happy. But taking it and like knowing where you want to go, that's like a skill set.
What do you mean where you want to go?
Well, because like you were saying.
Oh, like what you're trying to fix type of thing?
Well, that too. But if you don't understand your consumption levels, it can be kind of scary for like a new person that's,
hell
that's
yeah,
trying to do it. I think I've learned like there's 3 different types, right? One, you are just a little bit lighter. Maybe you know, feeling a bit calmer and you feel more ready to kind of process life. Mm-hmm. It's like a microdose.
Yep.
The second one is where, you know, things, you start seeing the patterns, you know, things start, you see them breathing, you see the energy actually
things
in
feel
the
like
world.
waves. It's like very wavy, yeah.
You start thinking a bit more kind of introspectively.
Yeah.
And then the third level is what's called
you reach God.
You reach God. It's actually an ego death, right?
Yeah.
So those levels of serotonin and dopamine, what it does is it inhibits your prefrontal cortex from reacting. Like when it's kind of funny, it's like the animalistic mind and like the logical kind of mind. So what that allows it to do, your prefrontal cortex kind of shuts down and quiets down for a bit. And the other parts of your brain, you're actually being more emotional. You're looking into your own feelings. You're unleashing the compartmentalized things that you've put away to live.
It's amazing.
Cope, right?
It's great.
So it allows you to process them almost like a movie that you're going through it. I always associate it with like stoicism because I don't know if you're familiar with.
Yeah, but why would you associate it with that?
Well, because what the Stoics used to do at the end of the day is they used to replay the day in their mind, and they used to go over their actions, their reactions, their emotions, and their encounters with people to take a look at it.
Well, that's good to journal too. Yeah.
Right, but you know, mentally, just to process. Right. This is what I did. This is what I can improve. And I feel like mushrooms allows you to do that kind of naturally. If not for a recent memory, maybe something in the past
that you kind of have tucked away. Yeah.
Right, somewhere in the depths of your mind, you know? But crazy.
Talking, you said, I forgot, you said something while you were talking. It reminded me during that trip, I remember with my eyes open, I thought a thought. Okay. And then, this is going to sound insane, but just try and, I guess, visualize it. I thought a thought. And then from that thought, I don't know why, but I was kind of like, what is the thought made of? Like, what is the matter of a thought?
Oh, that's curious.
And then I somehow dove into the quote unquote molecule that constructs that thought. So whatever the material that the thought is made, which is nothing, obviously, but like, and then within that material, and then within that material, and then with my eyes, this is when my eyes open.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, I kept diving through the molecules of each thought type of thing, like micro, type of thing, that I saw like these tunnels. It was like these like cosmic fucking tunnels with like information, almost like data, like going through like wires and shit like that. And then I just snapped out of it and I was like, where the fuck did I go? Like, where was I right now?
Subconscious, man. I think
my eyes weren't even closed.
I think when you experience something like that, you're going inward and
I was inward.
Right? But at the end of the day, what I've always come to terms to whenever I've had those experiences, every question that I ask myself, because I always make sure, now it's different. I look at the experience much different, ask myself questions, and every answer to every question is always like, it's you.
Oh, everything.
Like, how's that thought? It's you. How's the creation? What's
every
happening?
Single
Where
thing.
does it come? It's you.
It goes back to you 100%.
It goes back to you. But after that experience, did you always have good experiences after that? Kind of taking that?
So after that, I've never done a dose that high.
Okay.
Because it was a lot. 9 hours locked in your head.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Especially for the first
I'm surprised I wasn't fucking insane the next day. But I've got a pretty strong mind, thankfully. But yeah. So I've done obviously like bigger doses, but never anything like that.
Yeah. And you're pretty controlled. You seem like a very logical kind of controlled person. No, like just in our interactions. I feel like if you have a strong mind, you can take it, because I think there's different levels. It goes from like processing to like feeling, and then once you're ready and you've gone through those levels, then you can just enjoy it and see life for what it is.
Right. That's where I've gotten to now. In the beginning, it wasn't that easy. You know, even though I am like, you know, I practice self-awareness and mindfulness and all that shit, to an extent, sometimes it overtakes you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I can only do so much at this point, and then, but it gets better with time, and then you start seeing the fruits of it, you know, the good parts of it, and it's enjoyable. Not only is it enjoyable because you're tripping out in a good way, but like, because it does bring benefits, you know, and you figure things out. You look at, it's very important to, I think, to be at times in an altered state of mind where you can see things differently from a different angle, point of view, and perception, and it opens pathways, improves your life.
I think so. I agree with you completely. Like any way to see a different perspective, I'm up for it, because that's a human journey. I think is pushing yourself to the limit of your capacity of where you can go as a person. How can you think? What can you do? How far is your reach as a person? You have to push to see how far you can go. In the beginning, I was super against it, like super against taking it, because I also, like yourself, my first experience in like high school or something, it was way too much, and it was like, hey, I don't like this. I feel out of control. This is too many visuals.
If you do too much, it is a lot.
But you don't know what's happening, right? Nobody's preparing you for you against you.
You just go for the ride. Yeah, you're just like,
go for the ride. And then, you know, a friend of mine was like, oh, let's do it. You know, we're skiing in the mountains, cabins. It's a great environment. Let's do it. And I was like, no, man, I'm good. I have too much darkness in here. I don't want to face it. And when someone told me that taking like magic mushrooms is almost like you're pushing a reset button and like clearing out the dirty water in that bucket of your mind.
That's such a great way to put it, yeah.
Right. And like each time you do it, you're not going to experience a full pour out in the beginning. You have to go through everything, and finally you can fill it back up. So when somebody said that to me, and I was like, all right. And you do it in a controlled setting and with intention. That's what I've learned. Have an intention. What do I want to see? What do I want to achieve right now? Where do I want to go? And like almost your mind opens up, you know, this space for you to like explore, because you're asking yourself for the answer.
But even when if you're meditating, like you don't need substances for that. Like, I don't know if you ever tried like meditating and having and doing exactly what you just said. It might take you a little bit longer, but you get to certain places that you probably wouldn't get without the meditation.
I agree with you.
You know, obviously the mushrooms help a lot.
Yeah,
no, without a doubt.
Yeah,
the great enhancer when it comes to that.
I haven't been able to get there with meditating, because I'm a huge practitioner of yoga. It's very, very important. Like, clear your minds.
I've seen you at 420 yoga space.
It's awesome. It is.
I was thinking about going. I mean, I'm very still beginner level, but I thought I don't like being around too many people. You know?
I feel you.
I'm kind of
I wear
introverted.
My shades. You know, I'm an introvert as well.
I would have never guessed.
I can be an extrovert in settings that require them.
Okay.
You know, but I recharge.
I guess me too. Yeah.
You know, you seem that way. But it's such a great vibe. Like, it's a very super cool place. Nobody cares. Nobody's judging you. People are there having a great time. Young, old, vibing. I just go for the experience, because it feels like community to me. You know, people from all different places in the city.
I have some homeboys I go. Yeah.
Really?
And they usually like video the story there, and it looks like it's lit.
It is, but
I mean, no, not lit like space lit, like lit like in a yoga lit.
I mean, they're playing. There's a DJ playing, and everybody's on shrooms for sure.
That's hilarious.
I think maybe half of the people are on shrooms.
Fucking yoga in Miami.
But it's a dope experience. You should experience it.
Maybe I will. When I get a little more comfortable with I don't want to be there shaking like a leaf and shit.
Everybody is, and nobody cares. It's about you in that moment.
I guess you're right.
You know?
If I should have taken anything from this conversation about shrooms, it's that.
It's about you. That's it.
Kat, thank you so much for joining me today. Amazing convo. I think some of my followers will agree, because I actually got somebody the other day saying, we can tell when you like your guests and when you don't like your guests. And I was like, damn, bro. So I think
this was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
This was a good one.
Very insightful, good feedback, and you're a cool girl.
Thank you, bro. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been enlightening. Any way that I can expand and have a good conversation, it's worth it.
Así mismo. Tell the people where to find you. If you want them to follow, if not, tell them to fuck off. That's fine.
You can follow me at CatXMO on IG. Dude, stay out of my DMs, bro. Stay out of them.
Send her a dick pic. No,
No.
okay.
Just don't
do
work.
not, do not.
Please, no.
Thank you guys for listening. Again, please remember to like, subscribe, share, do all the things. It does help out a lot. And that's it. That's all the time we got for today. Have yourselves a good day. Y como siempre, no se metan con nadie para que nadie se los meta. Have a good one.